In the midst of time, the Dallas Cowboys have influenced a lot of people in relation to television, sports, presentation, cheerleaders. But their big decision to go with a black quarterback, being one of the first marquee teams to do so, to see if college success could cross over to the NFL. This was in the midst of the black quarterback debate, where basically Doug Williams was being questioned when he was leading the Redskins to the Super Bowl championship. Now, this guy could have easily been a big CFL star, but he eventually tried in the USFL and the NFL for a while, and I really think he should have been given a bigger shot, but he wasn't good enough to be a full time starter in the NFL. Could have been a good backup, but the CFL would have been a better fit. So today we're talking about a very talented and a very underrated player. I think he was a marquee player and should be saluted for all his talent. Reggie Collier, now born Reginald C. Collier in Biloxi, Mississippi, beautiful community, is a former pro American football quarterback. Best known for being a dynamic college football star, he had a short-lived pro career in both the USFL and the NFL. He played college football at the University of Southern Mississippi. Now, Collier's grandparents didn't allow him to play football until his junior year in D'Iberville High School, where he became a starter at quarterback until breaking his collarbone after playing in 3 games, where he was all victorious. As a senior, he guided his team to a perfect 13-0 record while also playing safety on defense. He received MVP honors in the state's high school all-star game. He also practiced basketball. Now, he went into the NFL draft eventually in the 6th round of 83 with the 162nd pick. However, he became more noticed for his football play at USM under head coach Bobby Collins. At the time, they were using the Veer offense and promised him they could play QB. As a freshman, he was a backup behind Dan McDaniel. He eventually became a starter as a sophomore, leading the team to a 6-0 start, with victories over the University of Mississippi and MSU, Mississippi State University. Now, this was in back-to-back weeks, and the first Associated Press top 25 ranking in program history. They were number 20 on October 20, 1980. The team bet McNeese State University 16-14 at the Independence Bowl, which was broadcast North America wide, for the school's first bowl game win in history. That season, he had 1,268 passing yards, 7 passing TDs, 464 rushing yards, and 2 rushing touchdowns. Now, as a junior in 1981, he had a season for the ages, where he became the first quarterback in NCAA Division I history to pass and rush for over 1,000 yards in a season, posting 81 of 139 attempts for 1,004 passing yards, and had 153 carries for 1,005 rushing yards. He accomplished several noteworthy victories in school history against Mississippi State University, Florida State University, and he also tied the University of Alabama 13-3 at Legion Field in Birmingham when he led the offense down the field for a dramatic game-tying field goal. He had a career-high 186 rushing yards against the University of Texas at Arlington. He finished the campaign with a 9-2-1 record, was ninth in the Heisman voting, and helped the school achieve its highest AP ranking ever at number 9. Now, 82, Collins left and Jim Carmody took over the head coaching responsibilities. He changed the offense and the team struggled with a 7-4 record. Still, Collier posted 1,265 passing yards, 3 passing touchdowns, 803 rushing yards, and 12 rushing touchdowns. He also had a 38-29 historic win against Alabama, ending their 57-game winning streak at Bryant-Denny Stadium. He finished college career with 3,662 passing yards, 2,304 rushing yards on 446 carries, and 5,977 yards of total offense, a school record, 16 passing TDs, and 26 rushing TDs. In 2000, he was inducted in the USM Athletic Hall of Fame and selected along with Brett Favre to the Southern Miss Team of the Century. In 2008, his collegiate number 10 jersey was retired by Southern Miss and became one of 3 players in school history to have been given this honor. In 2008, he was also inducted in the Mississippi Sports Hall of Fame. Now, the accolades were tremendous and well-deserved. Now, in his professional career, Collier was eventually selected by the Birmingham Stallions of the USFL in the first round of the '83 USFL draft. Unfortunately, he's injured his hip in the season opener and started being platooned with Bobby Lane. He suffered a season-ending knee injury in 10 contests after registering 5 starts, 604 passing yards, and 1 touchdown, with 253 rushing yards and 4 rushing touchdowns. It was later known that after being separated from the team, he unfortunately started drinking heavily and using drugs. Now, in January 1284, the team signed quarterback Cliff Stout and traded Collier to the Washington Federals in exchange for a number 1 draft choice, which was Jerry Rice, and the rights to center Joe Hildenberg, and of course, Rice never signed with USFL. In '84, he was being platooned with Mike Hohensee during the preseason until he was relegated to the backup position after the opening game of the campaign for the Federals Renegades team. Now, '85, the team moved from Washington to Orlando and it was renamed the Renegades. The owner chose not to retain Howard Schellenberger, the former Miami University coach, and asked Lee Corzo to take over as head coach. He would name Collier the starter quarterback in the 5th game of the season after being limited with a finger injury early in the year. He finished the campaign with a 5-13 record, 229 for 427 for 2,178 passing yards, 606 rushing yards, 13 passing touchdowns, 12 rushing touchdowns, including 2 runs of 63 and 71, but 16 interceptions. In these last 6 games, he passed for 8 touchdowns and 4 interceptions, and he had his best passing game as a pro against the Bandits, making 17 of 30 passes for 214 yards, 3 TDs, and 1 interception. Against the Jacksonville Bulls, he rushed for 171 yards and 4 touchdowns, setting Pro Football single-game rushing records for a quarterback. In his USFL career, he recorded 358 out of 695 attempts for 4,151 passing yards, 20 passing touchdowns, 35 interceptions, 155 carries for 1,033 rushing yards, and a 6.7 yard per carry average, and 17 rushing touchdowns. Now, there was some question he was going to go either to the Edmonton Escos, Montreal Alouettes, different squads, because Warren Moon was pretty well going out to CFL, and Joe Barnes and Sonny Wade were were well gone from Montreal. Now, the Dallas Cowboys of the NFL took a heavier interest, gambling that the USFL was not going to last, and they acquired Collier's NFL rights by selecting him in the 6th rounds of the '83 NFL draft, even though he had already signed with the Federals. On May 28, '86, some 3 years later, he signed a 4-year contract, which was a transaction that was overshadowed by the acquisition of running back Herschel Walker. Although he was considered as a raw player at the time, he was also seen as a prototype of the future NFL quarterback. In the preseason, he was productive in his appearances, but could not move out of the third-string quarterback role. Again, he was the first African-American quarterback to make the Cowboys roster, although Dallas had looked at other black players at that position before. Now, the team accommodated Collier, expecting he would develop and refine his skills, but it was perceived that he never practiced or prepared diligently enough. He was also was tried at wide receiver. Eventually, his substance abuse problem was a big factor and came to light, especially in the press. Now, November 23rd, down 41-17 against the Redskins, Collier was sent in the 4th quarter with 8 minutes of play, helping the offense score a touchdown, and ran out of time when looking for a possible second TD. In the season finale against the defending Super Bowl champions, the Bears, he became the first African-American quarterback to start in franchise history. He had 4 turnovers, however. 3 came in his first 3 series, and was replaced with Steve Puller in the 3rd quarter. Now, Collier played in 4 games in '86, completing 8 of 15 passes for 96 yards and 1 touchdown. Unfortunately, he was waived on June 17th, '87. Now, this was more, I think, with the Troy Aikman situation than anything else. Now, after the players went on strike in the 3rd week of the '87 season, those games were canceled, reducing the 16-game season to 15, and the NFL decided that the games would be played with replacement players. Collier was signed to be part of the Pirates' replacement team. He played in 2 contests before being released after strike was over on October 19th. Now, '91, he was the first ever player signed by the Orlando Predators franchise of the Arena Football League. He passed for 1,312 yards, 21 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, a league low, and before being placed by future AFL Hall of Famer Ben Bennett, after being sacked 24 times, highest in the league. He was waived, unfortunately, on April 14th, 92. Now, on April 13th, 93, he signed with the Albany Firebirds after being out of football for a year rehabbing a knee injury. On June 29th, he was lost for the season with a knee injury. Now, Collier has been very active in retirement or like from the field. He's currently the coordinator of athletic development and community relations for the Southern Miss Athletics Department. He's also a member of the Nu Eta chapter of the Omega Psi Phi fraternity. Now, there was racial issues involving his career because a lot in the media felt that the black quarterback didn't have the essentials to play in the NFL. But I think Collier would have been a better fit with the CFL, not to say diminishing him, but the two down format or three down format, you have to get a first down in two plays. I think it would really work. I would love to see him play in Edmonton's or Winnipeg system, but like I said, we were loaded with heavy former college quarterbacks in the CFL at the time. But Reggie Collier was a very, very highly regarded player. Everybody knew Reggie Collier back in the time because of his success in the college ranks, because his games were being shown in later on USFL heavily in Canada, because the USFL had a lot of college players like him that were well known in Canada. So he was more popular in a lot of ways in Canada than the States, because Canada, we appreciate these great college players, and the early era of the black quarterback of the 1980s was based on him, Doug Williams, and a few other players. And like I said, you can't take that away. He was a trailblazer, and nobody questions in 2024 about a black quarterback. But that was a thing back in the day. Can you imagine? How could a black athlete not be as good in football at quarterback like they are in baseball and hockey and soccer and different sports? It makes absolutely no sense. So Reggie Collier, I have big respect for him because he's been through a lot. He's a survivor, a good gentleman. I heard he's a good family guy. So my all the respect goes to him. If you like what we're doing here, we're a Dallas Cowboy Vintage Podcast. Let us know in a like, comment, subscribe, or share. And don't forget, if you're well known 40 years after just a few games in the NFL, we're still talking about you. You must be of value because he saw you as a prototypical player that people could look up to, and he was looked up to. He was a household name throughout North America for years. Thanks for listening. Bye.